This morning, I woke up to 39 missed calls from a number I hadn't seen in 20 years. My parents. The same people who left me at a train station when I was 12 and told me to figure it out. I stared at my phone, hands shaking, wondering what could possibly be so urgent after 2 decades of silence. My name is Rebecca Turner. I'm 32 years old, and this is the story of how I turned the deepest pain of my life into the greatest freedom I've ever known. If you've ever been treated like you didn't matter by the people who were supposed to protect you, this story is for you. Hit subscribe, because by the end, you'll see how I went from that terrified kid to someone they desperately need and can't have. According to research, 27% of Americans have cut contact with at least one family member. I was one of them. But my story, it started way before I made that choice. It was my 12th birthday. Mom said we were going on a special adventure to the city. Dad drove us to Union Station, one of the busiest train hubs in the country. They walked me to Platform 7, told me to wait on a bench, and said, "Let's see if you can find your way home, birthday girl." Then they laughed and left. I thought they were hiding behind a column and would jump out yelling surprise. 30 minutes passed. No one came back. An hour. Still nothing. I didn't have money. I didn't have a phone. I just had this one-way train ticket they'd shoved into my pocket. In my family, a tough love was what they called hurting your children. They'd created situations where I'd struggle, then swoop in to save me, making me believe I needed them. When I cried that day on the bench, I remembered Dad's words from a month before. "Stop being dramatic. It's character building." I sat there for 4 hours as the sun went down, too scared to move, too scared to ask for help. Because what if this really was a test, and I failed by asking a stranger for directions? According to psychology research, children who experience abandonment develop hypervigilance, a constant state of alertness to predict danger. That's exactly what I carried for the next 20 years. But what I didn't know at 12 years old was this wasn't the first time they'd done something like this, and it definitely wouldn't be the last. Looking back, there were 7 red flags screaming toxic family, but when you're a kid, you think that's just how families work. They opened a bank account using my name when I was 10. Years later, I discovered they'd taken out loans using my social security number. Every time I complained about anything, they'd say, "We sacrificed everything for you. You owe us." They reminded me constantly about all the money they'd spent raising me, as if love was a debt I had to repay. They didn't let me sleep at friends' houses. "Those people will put ideas in your head," Mom would say. I wasn't allowed my own phone number until I was 16. When I told my grandmother about the train station incident, Mom looked me dead in the eye and said, "That never happened. You're making things up for attention." They kept my birth certificate, my social security card, every important document. When I turned 18 and wanted to apply for college, they claimed the documents were lost. My older brother Jason was the golden child. Everything he did was perfect. I was the problem child, even though I was a straight-A student who never got in trouble. The train station wasn't their only test. Another time, they left me in a grocery store parking lot after closing time. I started thinking something was wrong with me, not them. I became a people pleaser, doing everything possible to make them proud, thinking that would make them stop. I was always prepared for the worst-case scenario, because with them, it always came. But the train station birthday was different. Because that time, something else happened. I sat on that bench for 4 hours. It was dark. I was too terrified to cry. That's when a woman, a complete stranger, sat down next to me and asked, "Honey, are you okay?" Her name was Martha Williams. She was a social worker, 55 years old, and she recognized the signs of child abandonment immediately. She asked where my parents were. I said they're testing me. Martha looked at me with something I'd never seen before, genuine concern. She said, "Baby, parents who love you don't test you like this. They protect you." I tried to defend them. "They're teaching me to be independent," I said. But deep down, part of me knew she was right. She asked me a question that changed everything. "If you don't go home tonight, what's the worst that could happen?" I realized the answer was nothing. They wouldn't even notice. Martha offered to call the police or contact family services. But I knew if I did that, they'd gaslight everyone. "She ran away, she's lying, she's dramatic," they'd say. So I made a choice. I took that one-way train ticket they'd given me, and I used it. But I didn't go home. I went to my grandmother's house, someone they'd cut contact with 2 years earlier because she interfered too much. When Grandma Helen opened the door and saw me standing there with my backpack, tears finally streaming down my face, she said something that changed everything. "I've been waiting for you to come." Grandma Helen Martinez wasn't rich. She lived in a small apartment on her retired nurse's pension, but she had something I'd never experienced at home: safety. She immediately understood what had happened, and she helped me make strategic decisions that would protect me for years to come. First, she contacted a lawyer about emancipation options and documented everything with photos of me the night I arrived and written statements. She said if they come for you, we need proof you chose to leave, not that you were kidnapped. She opened a joint bank account with me and taught me about credit, savings, and financial literacy. She told me money is freedom. Never let anyone control your money. She enrolled me in her school district and became my legal guardian, so I'd have stability. She encouraged me to excel academically because scholarships meant opportunities. Most importantly, she was the first person to teach me about healthy boundaries. She said loving someone doesn't mean letting them hurt you. She paid out of pocket for therapy sessions. My parents didn't look for me. There was no missing person report. No frantic calls to Grandma. Nothing. For 6 months, complete silence. Then one day, Mom appeared outside my school. No appointment, no warning. She just stood by the gate. When I saw her, she smiled and waved like nothing had happened. Grandma had warned me this would happen. "This is a test," she'd said. "They want to see if you'll come running back. Don't." I didn't. I walked away. That was the first time I chose myself over them. Time revealed who they really were, just like Grandma promised. I went from being reactive to proactive, learning to anticipate their moves. Therapy taught me their behavior reflected them, not my worth. I developed tactical patience. And then time really did reveal the truth, but not in the way I expected. Let me fast forward through 20 years, not because nothing happened, but because everything happened. I became a straight-A student and earned a full scholarship to college. I got my degree in psychology because I wanted to understand what happened to me. Then my master's in social work because I wanted to help kids like me. I became a Child Protective Services caseworker, specializing in family trauma cases. Every case I handled, I saw echoes of myself. I bought my first house at 28. I had a savings account they could never touch. Grandma's lessons about financial freedom saved my life. I built a chosen family, close friends who became sisters, mentor figures in the social work field. I learned that family isn't blood, it's choice. When I was 18, my parents tried to reach out once. One letter, no apology, just "we expect you at Jason's wedding." I didn't respond. That was our last communication until this morning. Here's what they didn't know about my life. I married a wonderful man named David when I was 27. We have 2 kids, Emma, who's 4, and Lucas, who's 2. I bought Grandma a better apartment before she passed 3 years ago. I'm financially stable, emotionally healthy, and genuinely happy. The one thing I never resolved was why. Why did they do it? Why the train station? Why the tests? Why treat your own child like a burden? This morning, 39 missed calls answered that question in a way I never imagined. I woke up at 6 a.m. to my phone vibrating nonstop. Blocked number. Then voicemails started piling up. The first one was Mom. "Rebecca, this is your mother. I know we haven't spoken, but it's urgent. Call me back." By voicemail 7, Dad's voice. "Rebecca, pick up. Your brother needs you. This is serious." Voicemail 15 was Jason, the golden child. "Becky, I know you hate us, but Mom and Dad are in trouble. Please call back." I noticed the pattern. No apology, no acknowledgement of the past. Just "we need you." My social worker instincts kicked in. I didn't call back. Instead, I Googled their names. What I found was shocking. Dad's construction business had gone bankrupt, owing over $400,000 with liens on their house. Mom had been diagnosed with stage 3 cancer 6 months ago with medical bills stacking up and no insurance coverage for experimental treatments. Jason, the golden child, had been laid off. His wife left him, took the kids, and he'd moved back in with Mom and Dad. All 3 of them were living together, broke. Then I found the real reason they called. Through social media detective work, I saw Jason had posted about his estranged sister, who's a successful social worker. They'd seen I bought a house and had a stable career. They needed money, lots of it. Before Grandma died, she left me documents she'd never told me about while she was alive. My birth certificate with a note saying your parents tried to give you up for adoption at 6 months. Legal papers showing they'd sued her for grandparent alienation when I was 13 and lost. Bank statements proving they'd been taking money from my childhood savings account since I was 8. The final piece was a letter Grandma wrote me to be opened when they come back. She wrote, "Rebecca, when they return, and they will when they need something, remember this. You owe them nothing. You survived despite them, not because of them." I stared at my phone. 39 missed calls. I could ignore them, or I could finally get answers. But it would be on my terms. I called back, but not the number they used. I called Jason's cell from a blocked number. He answered immediately. "Becky, oh thank God. Mom and Dad really need—" I cut him off. "Stop. I know what they need. Money." I Googled. There was a pause. "Look, I know things were complicated, but they're family." "Family," I said. "You mean the people who abandoned me at a train station on my 12th birthday?" Silence. Then he said, "That was a misunderstanding. They thought you'd figure it out. It was supposed to build character." I took a breath. "Jason, I'm a social worker. I work with Child Protective Services. What they did is called child endangerment. The statute of limitations might have passed, but the trauma, that's permanent." I gave him my demands. Face-to-face meeting at a public place, a coffee shop on neutral territory. my terms. I talk, they listen. No manipulation, no tears, no family obligation speeches. They had to explain why the train station, why the tests, why they scapegoated me. They had to acknowledge the harm they caused. No gaslighting, no rewriting history. They needed to show me exactly how much money they needed and explain why they thought I owed them after 20 years of no contact. Jason panicked. Becky, you don't understand. Dad's house is being foreclosed. Mom needs treatment. We're desperate. I said, you were desperate then. I'm deliberate now. Those are my terms. Take it or leave it. Reluctantly, he agreed. We set the meeting for Saturday at 10 a.m. at Riverside Cafe. I had 3 days to prepare. I brought David, my husband, who's a lawyer. I set up my phone to record the conversation, which is legal in my state with one-party consent. I prepared documents, Grandma's evidence, and financial records. I set emotional boundaries, 1-hour limit, public space only. Saturday morning arrived. I walked into that cafe and saw them for the first time in 20 years. They looked old, desperate, broken, and I felt nothing. Mom stood up first with her arms open for a hug. I didn't move. I said, sit down, we're not doing that. Dad started to speak. Rebecca, we're so glad you... I interrupted. Stop. I didn't come here for a reunion. I came for answers. You have 1 hour. I asked my first question. Why did you leave me at that train station? Dad said they wanted me to be independent, to be strong. I responded I was 12. That's not teaching independence. That's abandonment. Mom added that I always figured things out. They knew I'd be fine. I said I sat there for 4 hours, terrified. A stranger had to help me. You didn't even check if I made it home. My second question, why did you treat Jason differently? Mom claimed they didn't treat us differently. I pulled out the documents. I have proof. His college fund was $40,000. Mine was $0. You used my social security number to open credit cards. My childhood savings were drained. Silence filled the table. My third question, why now after 20 years? Jason finally spoke. Look, we need help. Dad's business failed. Mom's sick. We thought family helps family. I said, you thought I'd forget. You thought I'd just forgive and write a check. Dad broke first. Okay, fine. You want the truth? You were unplanned. We weren't ready. Your mom had postpartum depression. We resented you. They're happy? Mom added, and you were so difficult. Always asking questions. Always needing attention. Jason was easy. You were exhausting. I took a moment, so you punished a child for existing, for needing love. You made me believe I was the problem when the truth is you failed as parents. You know what? I forgave you years ago, not for you, but for me. But forgiveness doesn't mean I owe you anything. Here's what I'm willing to do. Nothing. Not because I'm cruel, but because Grandma taught me that enabling toxic people doesn't help them, it destroys you. You made your choices. Now live with them. Dad got angry and stormed out. Mom started crying, saying, but I'm your mother. Jason asked if I was just going to let them lose everything. I said, you let me go at 12. I'm returning the favor. David spoke up. This meeting is over. Rebecca, let's go. As we stood to leave, Jason tried one last manipulation. What about when you need us someday? What then? I turned back and said something that I know haunts them to this day. Jason, I already built a life you can't touch. I have family, chosen family. I have kids who'll never know what it's like to be tested, abandoned, or gaslit. I don't need you. I never did. Grandma made sure of that. David and I left. No dramatic exit, just a quiet, dignified departure. They tried to follow, but I said loud enough for others to hear, "Please don't contact me again, or I'll file harassment charges." An older woman approached after they left. I heard everything she said. "Good for you, honey. Some parents don't deserve their children." That validation from a stranger meant more than any apology from them ever could. Over the next few weeks, Jason posted a vague Facebook rant about ungrateful siblings. Extended family started reaching out, asking what happened. I posted a simple statement. "I'm protecting my peace and my children from toxicity. That's all I'll say." Extended family members started messaging privately. Turns out I wasn't the only one they'd hurt. My Aunt Maria said they did the same to her, cutting contact when she set boundaries. Uncle Tom revealed Dad had borrowed $10,000 from him and never paid it back. Multiple family members thanked me for finally standing up to them. Some apologized for not intervening when I was a child. It was small validation, but meaningful. The voicemails continued for weeks. Week 1 was anger. "You're cruel, heartless." Week 2 was guilt. "Your mother is dying because of stress you caused." Week 3 was bargaining. "What if we went to therapy together?" Week 4 was threats. "We'll sue you for elder abandonment," which isn't even legal in our state. My response was complete silence. David handled any legal threats, though none materialized. I blocked their numbers, blocked them on social media, and moved on. 3 months later, I received a letter from Mom's oncologist. She'd listed me as an emergency contact without my consent. The letter informed me she'd started treatment, paid for by Medicaid, after they qualified for assistance. They didn't actually need my money. They wanted my submission. The real test came when Emma, my 4-year-old, asked why she didn't have grandma and grandpa like her friends. How do you explain toxic family to a child? I knelt down to Emma's level. "Baby, some people aren't safe, even if they're related to us. Mommy had grandparents who weren't kind, so I chose to keep you safe and only have people around who love us the right way." Emma asked, "Like Aunt Sarah and Uncle Mike?" "Our chosen family." I said, "Exactly like them. Family is about love, not blood." That conversation reminded me why I made this choice. My experience made me a better social worker. I specialized in helping kids escape toxic families. I published a paper on breaking generational trauma cycles and was invited to speak at conferences. My marriage grew stronger because David saw my strength. My kids are growing up in an environment I never had. Safe, loving, stable. I used a portion of my savings to start a scholarship fund called the Helen Martinez Scholarship for kids aging out of foster care. It's named after Grandma, the person who actually saved me. Other family members cut off my parents too. We formed a cousin network of survivors. We support each other and celebrate holidays together. 1 year later, Dad had a heart attack and was hospitalized. Jason left a voicemail saying he was asking for me. "Please come." I didn't go. Instead, I sent flowers with a card that said, "Wishing you peace." That's all they got. That's all they deserved. Some people judged me, but he could die, they said. My response was he could have thought about that before abandoning his 12-year-old daughter at a train station. Guilt tried to creep in. Therapy helped me release it. Justice wasn't them suffering, though natural consequences did happen. Justice was me thriving. I broke the cycle. My kids will never know that pain. That's the ultimate revenge, being happy without them. 2 months ago, something unexpected arrived in the mail. It was a letter from Dad's lawyer regarding his estate planning. My first reaction was panic. They're trying to pull me back in. But David read it carefully and said, "Rebecca, this isn't what you think. Dad had updated his will. He wasn't leaving me anything, and I didn't want it anyway. But the letter explained he was leaving everything to Jason, with a clause that Rebecca Turner is explicitly excluded and has no claim to any assets or responsibilities. Essentially, it was legal no contact from beyond the grave." I actually laughed. David asked why I was laughing. I said, "He thinks excluding me from his will hurts me. He doesn't realize I already excluded them from my life. This just makes it official. I've built boundaries they can't penetrate." I moved to a different city where they don't have my address. My social media is private. My kids' school has photos of them and strict instructions not to release the children to anyone not on the approved list. I have a new phone number with email filters for their names. My social media privacy settings are locked tight. I have therapy appointments every 2 weeks for maintenance and attend a support group for adult children of narcissistic parents. I keep a journal to process feelings without engaging with them. I have a lawyer on retainer for any contact attempts and a restraining order already drafted, ready to file if needed. My will explicitly states they have no grandparent rights. All my accounts are separate and protected. I have a credit freeze, so they can't open accounts in my name. My financial advisor is fully aware of the situation. I now run workshops called Setting Boundaries with Toxic Family. Hundreds attend. The messages I receive say, "You gave me permission to protect myself." That's the legacy I want to build. People always ask if I ever regret going no contact. My answer is I regret staying as long as I did. I should have left at 12 and never looked back, but I was a child. Now I'm an adult, and this is my choice. I'm 32 now, married 5 years, 2 beautiful kids, successful career. I own my home. I have genuine friendships, 0 contact with my parents, and I'm genuinely, deeply happy. My mornings look like Emma climbing into bed, giggling, with Lucas toddling in after her. David makes pancakes. We eat breakfast together with no tension, no tests, no walking on eggshells, just peace. I was promoted to director of our family services program. I advocate for kids every single day. Every child I help, I think this is what healing looks like. We spend holidays with friends who became family. My kids call them auntie and uncle. These people showed up when I was alone. They stayed. That's real family. I'm writing a book about my experience called The Station, a story of abandonment, survival, and choosing yourself. It comes out next year. All proceeds go to the Helen Martinez Scholarship Fund. Last month, I visited Union Station, Platform 7. I sat on the same bench where they left me, but this time I wasn't a scared, abandoned child. I was a strong woman who survived. I took a photo and posted it with the caption, "They left me here to break me." Instead, this is where I started building myself. The messages I received were overwhelming. People said I needed to see this. "I'm cutting off my toxic mother today. You gave me strength to leave my abusive family. Thank you for showing it's okay to choose peace over blood." If I could tell 12-year-old Rebecca anything, it would be this: you will survive this. That stranger Martha will lead you to Grandma. She'll teach you everything they didn't. You'll go to college, you'll meet David. You'll have Emma and Lucas. You'll be happy. So happy. Just hold on. I'm breaking generational trauma. My kids know healthy love. They'll never doubt their worth. They're learning boundaries from birth. Through my scholarship fund, I've helped 15 kids so far. My workshop series has reached over 300 attendees. I donated my book, Advance to Family Services. I'm redefining what family means. Blood doesn't equal obligation. Love is action, not words. Family is who shows up. People ask if I wonder what they're doing now. Honestly, no. Their chapter in my life closed 20 years ago. I'm writing new chapters now, ones filled with love, safety, and joy. Ones they'll never be part of. If you're watching this and you have toxic family, listen carefully. You don't owe them your peace. You don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them access to your life, your kids, your happiness. You owe yourself safety. That's not selfish, that's survival. The train station was supposed to break me. Instead, it freed me. 39 missed calls were supposed to guilt me back. Instead, they reminded me why I left. If my story helps even one person choose themselves over toxic obligation, then sharing it was worth it. To everyone who supported me, thank you. To those who judged me, I understand. But I'm not living for your approval anymore. I'm living for my peace. And honestly, it's the best decision I've ever made. My name is Rebecca Turner. I'm a survivor, a mother, a social worker, and someone who chose peace over blood. And I've never been happier. If you need permission to do the same, consider this it.